let's just start off. My name is Beau Whitman. I'm a fitness instructor and public speaker, and I've been in the CrossFit world for about 5 years as an athlete and a coach. My main belief is that when people open up to vulnerability, we don't just inspire ourselves, but the people around us, which is exactly what we're going to be doing tonight. I would like to start off this whole entire meeting, though, by saying thank you to the panel today for taking time out to being able to speak up for what they believe in, what they're going to be saying tonight with the questions I'm going to be asking that I got off all different types of media, people that I've asked randomly for different questions to try to gear this conversation as an open-ended question. With that being said, tonight's discussion is an opportunity to take a step back and to actually see what is happening through all sides of the community. That's why tonight we have game athlete, we have coaches from all over the US, we have gym affiliate owners. Going forward with that, we have a unique opportunity to have a conversation that we've always wanted in different areas, and at the same time create something new that is going to be done for the community and by the community. But first, we have to take this step backwards, take a breath, and have these deep, hard conversations that are going to take time to see what is going to happen going forward. With that being said, I don't know if tonight is the correct answer or what we come up with tonight might be the right thing going forward for CrossFit, but the panel and I both agree and believe that this is the right step in the direction that we should be going as a community. Okay, so let's talk about our panel tonight, who we have here tonight. Representing the Black community, I have two CrossFit coaches. I have Ashley Bowers and Amir Wilson. You guys can wave your hands, say hello. We're all here today. They're going to be answering our first set of questions that we're going to be going through. Ashley has been a coach for a year and has been in the CrossFit community for 2 years, first year as an athlete, and Amir has been a coach for about 5 years in New York City. The best part about this panel is that I know every one of them personally. I actually was taught under Amir at the first box I was at in New York City, which is great. The next panelist we have is Creighton. He is the GM of Brick, New York City, who I believe was probably the first box gym to break ties with CrossFit. I was on Instagram going on a rant. If you've never seen my Instagram stories about going after CrossFit on the chat and all these different things like Lulu. And here's the first thing that came up. And then I think 5 minutes later, 30 gyms started dropping like flies. And now I think we're up to about 405 different affiliates that are now stepping away from CrossFit altogether. Next, we have Lulu Faria. She is a CrossFit coach in New York City as well, at the same gym that I started at. She's been an athlete in CrossFit for 4 years and a coach for 2 years, and she is known as being blocked by CrossFit for trying to voice her opinion and the people that are under her in terms of speaking to see what their opinion is on the matter at hand. And then we have Reardon, a 3-time games athlete here tonight. So as you can see, we have people from all over the community doing different things that are going to come together and help us get a different perspective on everything that's going on. With that being said, we're going to open up the floor to some general questions, then go into some nitpicky questions for the individuals. If you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat box. At the end of the webinar, we'll be going through those questions. I'll be picking out some here and there. And for those that we don't get through all the way to the end, what I will do is I will take those questions out and I will send them out to the panelists, and maybe they can answer them again, and I'll post them on a separate link so people can see the answers as well. Okay. Panelists, any questions before we start, or attendees?
Well, I have a couple people asking, is there a way to change the view so they can see all the panelists?
Yes, there is. Right now we have it set up so whoever's talking, their face will come up. So don't worry, you're not just looking at me the whole time. You're going to have it so, or we can do it this way. So everyone is going to come up. So wherever the box, whenever you're talking, your face will come up. When I stop talking, whoever talks next, their face will come up. Okay. Great question. So let's start with our first general questions. The thing about the questions tonight before we go forward is these are all taken from online, okay? From people I've asked, from what I've seen on different CrossFit posts, from Morning Chalk Up, from all over the place. And I try to gear it so it's more open-ended. We're not going to get into political views or really deep discussions. It's an open conversation today, okay? So this is for anyone, whoever wants to jump on. The first question is, what are the thoughts on having no response from CF since the death of George Floyd for such a long time until all the chaos in terms of what has happened in recent events caused them to make a response?
Anybody jump on?
Yep, anyone can jump on.
Well, feel free to cut me off because you guys know I like to talk. I would say it was definitely like very disrespectful. I think it was, especially for me. It actually took me a while to even look at the CrossFit page because I don't follow them. But I was going there and I was checking it. And initially, it's one of those things that like because people get into this sport because of the community, I was like maybe like because there are some pages. I know there's a lot of boxes that do this. They have their page, but no one's really active on it. They just go on there to throw information. So my initial thought was like, maybe that's what they're doing. But then when they posted about a course, and then they posted a fucking social bar video, like I lost my shit. Like I thought it was like the most disrespectful thing that they did, just because it's one of those things like if you scroll on the comments, and that's where you're kind of like, that's where I kind of felt like this doesn't feel like a community anymore. It literally feels like when it was another stab in the back, even worse, of course, like it doesn't even compare to when they took regionals away. Because then it felt like, all right, well, you're taking kind of like our dream away. But now it's like, this is a very important fact, like a very important situation that's happening, and you don't even acknowledge it. The only questions, the only comments you're responding to are the ones that are going to bring you money, are the ones that are like, hey, this course here, is it available wherever, whatever it was. And then there was a response, but everyone that was like, hey, are you guys not going to address, the situation that's happening? Like, where's the Blackout Tuesday post? No response. So I can say that, like, being that for the past couple of years, I've pretty much like dedicated my life into this sport, I definitely felt very angry and upset, to say the least.
Good. Okay. Anyone else want to jump on?
Yeah, I mean, I could add to that too as well. I think, to be quite honest, I wasn't really surprised that they didn't make a post. They've done this before in the past, and I think, some of the patterns are very similar to what they've done in the past. I do believe that, it was very insensitive. It just kind of shows he himself is in denial with the two global pandemics at hand. So, I think as terrible as it was, it allowed the community to really step up, which is what I think we needed to happen. But yes, very, very insensitive. You really can't fix that.
Ian, Ashley, Amir, you guys want to add on?
I'll go quick. I just think that for an organization, probably the biggest fitness movement of our lives, right? CrossFit. I mean, 15,000 affiliates, 400,000 plus people participate in the open, very diverse community of people that's changed a lot of people's lives. Like Lulu said, and I know Meg as well, a lot of you guys, like I've been dedicated to CrossFit now for 8, almost 9 years, as an athlete and as my livelihood. And so to have that as like your leadership, to not shed light on something as big as what's going on, especially when you are in charge of a community as diverse as the CrossFit community, I just think it's irresponsible, and there's really no excuse for silence, right? And that's why we're here. That's what started the problem, and then obviously the weekend made it much, much worse. But we could have had this discussion even without that tweet, So that's just how I feel about it.
Okay. Amir, Ashley?
Yeah, I agree with Ian, Meg, and Lulu. But I just have a few points that I want to also point out just to show how leadership comes into play in reference to individuals that are like Greg Laskin, where you have a powerful individual who has the ability to basically silence a company, and no one under him essentially is allowed to speak out. So that just goes to show the reach of individuals that have that power to essentially do as they please, right? Because if you notice, most popular CrossFit coaches and trainers that work for HQ, you know, they hadn't said anything because they weren't allowed to, right? Lulu was blocked, as we all know. They took a stance as a company through his direct direction, not direct direction, but through his, I guess I just want to say, you know, his leadership to stay silent, right? And you can't say anything. That is the definition of oppression, right? So he's in charge of CrossFit HQ, and the company essentially can just take a hands down approach because of what he believes. And you know, just touching on him apologizing, we all make mistakes, and it's not that, you know, you make a mistake and people want to judge you. It's the stance and how things happened. You know, it's how you as a company just stood back, didn't allow your people to say anything, and took the approach to basically say, you, the public, you, our supporters, I'm going to try to silence you. So it's more than just what he said. It's just the actions that follow behind it.
Okay. Ashley?
Yeah, I'll just say kind of my, I guess, emotion surrounding it. It was definitely one of those things where I wasn't exactly surprised by the fact that they weren't saying anything about it, just given things in the past. And it was kind of just one of those moments where you're kind of just waiting and like hoping like, okay, like, well, maybe today. And obviously it's not only about, did they post a black square or did they put something in their story or whatever it is, but still, especially being a black female, like I'm still checking, like I'm like, okay, well maybe they said something, like maybe like we don't know everything, but here's just something about where we stand. And it kind of brings up this just kind of turmoil inside of like, okay, well, what happens if we get 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, and like there's still nothing said? It's kind of like what's the window of like, it's okay to not say anything versus like, you know, like how long is too long? And obviously everything that happened over the weekend kind of escalated that, but that's kind of been my day-to-day with it up until then, just kind of hoping, waiting, maybe what's going to happen if they don't, what will happen if they do, what are they going to say if they do? And so that's kind of been how I was seeing that and kind of my emotions surrounding that before everything that happened. And then obviously everything over the weekend just kind of blew everything else up. But
it's almost like what happened to just a simple update of, we are reviewing the situation and we will have a decision within the next week, or so on and so forth. Could have even stopped an escalation as long as we knew there was something going on.
Yeah.
Going on to our next point, with our questions, we are going to talk about, and this can get a little bit dicey, so let's take a second, take a step back and breathe. I would like to know everyone's comment or thoughts on the CF CEO's tweet on the comment Floyd 19. What everyone thoughts about it. And I know this is a touchy subject, so, and this is where it gets rough, but as long as we're open, you know, it's an open space, open room.
Well, I mean, everyone knows I'm blocked because I fucking speak out. So it was fucking bullshit. It was fucking rude. It was fucking racist. I don't care what he says. His apology was bullshit. And even though I'm not here to bash him, I don't see it as talking down when I'm speaking the truth. And that's really what it was. So cute and simple, straight to the point. Next.
I'm not surprised. You know, I'm not surprised by his comments, and you know, I've basically become desensitized as an individual growing up and hearing things like that consistently, and it being okay, because if you think about a lot of things, certain things are taught to you. Like, you don't naturally grow up in this world thinking of race and thinking to have a perspective on life, on how to judge someone. So for someone like me who has the experience of many years of hearing things like that on a consistent basis, it doesn't surprise me, because I know many individuals that are like that, and you can't tell them any different. except for, you know, when the community reacts. Now it's a problem. But had the reaction not happened the way it did, he would have been perfectly fine saying what he said.
Yep. And we'll be getting back into more of the reaction parts later when we get more into the open-ended questions towards the end. Does anybody else want to touch on that?
Just to add to Amir's statement,
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't surprised. Very insensitive, extremely hateful, very ignorant. Just a few of the words that kind of come to mind. When I read it, I was just honestly in shock, but really not surprised.
Okay. So going forward, we're going to dive into some more personal questions. Again, the panelists have seen some of these questions beforehand. We're going to start with Amir and Ashley. These are going to be a tag team between you two. What I would like to know first is, with everything going on with the response from the CF and CF CEO, how do you feel about the community's response so far to everything that's happened? Don't be afraid to jump.
Okay, I'll go. Okay. So I'll just say I have been really, I guess, like, humbled, and I feel very supported seeing so many people, especially after everything happening, seeing so many people very quick to say kind of like what I just said in the last one, like, whether it's, hey, we don't have all the answers right now, but, like, we do not condone this. And, like, even something as simple as I do not support what was said means so much. Like, obviously, yes, it's like we want to see, like, okay, well, what are other things that are going to be done? But just the simple, I do not condone this, my brand does not condone this, like, my gym does not condone this, means so much, because kind of after seeing everything unfold, I was kind of wondering, like, all right, like, what's going to happen? Like, are people going to say anything? Are they not? Like, is this going to be touchy? Like, what's going to happen? And so seeing quickly, just like one after the other, like brands and athletes and gyms just reaching out just to say, like, this was unacceptable, this was disrespectful. Like, to me that showed me that, yes, this is about the community and not necessarily just about the brand name or whatever that may be. So yeah, I would say that I feel, at least right now, very supported and humbled, and it's just really cool to see people taking a stance and willing to sacrifice things and putting people over profits. And so yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'll touch on Ashley's just for like 20 seconds, because she basically hit it on the head. It's one thing to hear the talk, you know, and you know, you hear a lot of propaganda going around, but then it's another thing to take action, which for me, that allows me to be who I want to be, because I feel like I can be comfortable with my people, you know. And it's not just, it doesn't have anything to do with race. It just has something to do with me being accepted and me feeling like I'm a part of something, and that I don't have to continue to be ostracized by certain individuals, because I know Lulu is going to stick up for me. Ian is going to stick up for me. Beau is going to stick up for me. All the participants here, because that's the main reason why we're here, is to support. So I just feel grateful to be able to be in a time like today where we can all sit together and talk intellectually and move forward to make change.
Of course. Now, leading up, going into that as well, your part 2 question of this is, what would you like to see improved in this community? If you've seen anything over the past couple of days that you thought maybe could be improved on, and how, as a CF community, can we educate ourselves further?
Just, I guess, quickly adding or going into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that we've done a very good job stating our voices. You know, I think that Greg is just one little piece. I think maybe the one thing that we maybe could stop doing is maybe just mentioning his name so much, because, to be honest, it's not important. You know, he's not important. His statements are not important, and it just goes to show the community is much bigger and much better. potentially even without him in the picture. And I think that we can still be very successful moving forward with this positive change. And, I think that as long as we keep this conversation and dialogue going, we can only continue to go forward with this.
It's great. Amir, Ashley, do you want to add on?
Again, I'm lucky also to be able to speak with people like Meg, Ashley, Ian, Lulu, you, Beau, as well, because again, she hit it right on the head. It's not even about the individual anymore. It's about the community and us recognizing how we can do better. That's why we're here on this planet. Doesn't matter if it's recycling, being a neighbor, being a boyfriend, girlfriend, being a husband and wife. Just like, how can we do better? That's really my perspective on just the community aspect of it, is just being able to empathize with someone, but take yourself out of your position and be able to think how someone else would feel or would react, not be so quick to be accusatory, or judge, right? The educational aspect is real. Like, we have to be able to listen. Of course, we all have our views and our opinions, but the main point is just to be able to listen, understand what someone is saying, process it, and then go from there. Don't be so quick to judge, get upset, because at the end of the day, the more we support each other, the better this life will be.
Of course. And I've heard this said a lot on Instagram here and there with vulnerability as well. And you just hit it on the head again with being able to accept that your opinion might be right and it might be wrong at the same time. But as long as you're moving forward to the end goal, that's what's really mattering. Like, we're getting there, but we have to get there together, even though we might have different views, as long as we work together somehow. So as a community, hopefully we can do that. Going forward, Lulu, which is why a lot of people might be on this call. Lulu, I've known you for a very long time. You're a leading fitness instructor at Equinox and CrossFit at CrossFit Gym 2 in New York City. How did it feel to be blocked by CF on their Instagram page? Also, I would like to know what your clients, your friends thought, and what were you could tell everyone your immediate steps of the video, I guess, you posted after.
Okay. So honestly, my thoughts on them blocking me, my pure true thoughts, I don't give a fuck that they blocked me. I didn't even follow them to begin with, right? It's a sport that I love, but honestly, like, it's nothing, like, it just didn't appeal to me to follow them. But it was something that, again, that I saw as I do represent it. Anyone that knows me knows that I love the sport. I was, I was involved in competitions too. So it was honestly like, I didn't even really care that they blocked me. I cared that they didn't answer me. That's what pissed me off, because I DM'd them, I tagged them on stories, and I saw that they saw it. They just simply ignored it. Which, even like in the stories, I even posted like, oh, apparently, well, I basically like bombarded their comment section with with comments, and I said, like, let me say it louder for the ones in the back. And then I posted a story that actually said, apparently I am saying it loud enough, they're just ignoring it, so let me try to draw it out for them. And then they blocked me. So with them blocking me, it was like I said, like, it's nothing that I care. Like, I could care less. Within the past few weeks, I've lost over 1,000 followers. I have had over 300-400 people block me, and I know that because I have an app. But do I really give a fuck? No, I don't. My response to them, though, to show them that I didn't care, was to take my CrossFit Level 1 shirt, which you get when you get certified. I took it and I made it in one take because I only had one of those shirts. I ripped it and I said, ooh, burn, because that's how bad it hurt that they blocked me. And that was it.
Now, what did your friends think, or clients that heard about it? I know there was a ton of response on your Instagram page following it. Some were in disbelief. Other people were like, kind of dumbfounded by it. Because it was an actual response too from CrossFit.
Yeah, it was. I think that like my friends, followers, were more upset about it than I was. Mostly because, again, like for me, it wasn't about the block. I don't care that you block me. I don't care that if you don't follow me. My thing is, like, you left something serious that I asked you several times. You ignored it. You saw it, you ignored it. So there wasn't even like, hey, we're not gonna talk about it. There was no response. It was just straight up ignoring a serious issue. A lot of people were upset. They started going on Instagram and, you know, like writing stuff there in the comment section. I do have a few friends that even said like, oh, I think I may be blocked, or they deleted their page. I'm like, nah, they blocked you. So welcome to the club.
And the funny thing was, I had 2 people in the gym that I coach at come up to me and approach me about it, and just being upset that nothing was being heard. And then I saw your Instagram story and I was like, nope. I was like, nope. And that's what kind of sparked this whole thing with this panel tonight. I'm not like, it's a spark. I immediately reached out to you. I reached out to, like, Ian was next, and then Megan right away. And then it was Ashley, and then Amir, and then several other people as well. Just so we have some sort of response that's never been done before, because there's so many ideas that are out there. Now, for time's sake, we're going to keep on moving forward. I have Ian. You are up next, man. And I got to say, I kind of was in shock when I first saw this. And I can't say this with certainty, but you were the first. I follow a lot of affiliations on my Instagram account, but you were the first one that came up on my story, because I was busy posting, talking to Lulu, doing a lot of stuff on my Instagram story and commenting on CrossFit's page as well. But you were the first thing that came up with Brick, New York, saying that we are cutting ties with CrossFit. So what I would like to know is, how'd that come across in your mind? Was it immediately done? Was there any like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm willing to take the risk? What was the first thoughts kind of that went through your head? And was it just your own decision, or who did you talk to about the whole entire situation that unfolded into that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision, honestly. I woke up on it was yesterday. Feels like several days ago, and I saw the post and the comments. I think it was like Armin, his Instagram account, and I just took it as like Floyd 19. I just took it as like he's comparing George Floyd and Black Lives Matter to COVID-19 as like a virus, and I was just like I took it as 100% racist credit. I didn't have any. I couldn't see it any other way when I read it, and then he had his apology and stuff. But like, so I read it. I basically texted our owner, and we had a group text chain, and I just was like this is it. Like, we can't be associated with this, and I think we should bring forward that we're going to, not renew our affiliation and disaffiliate, whatever you want to call it. And everyone was pretty much on board. So there's a couple of questions about the legalities of it, and after watching that 60-minute special with Glassman a couple of years ago, I know he has armies of attorneys. So there was some of that, like whether we could get sued for defamation or whatever. But it was honestly like, we can get into it more, but I've never been a huge fan of CrossFit HQ in general. And right before I got on this call, I read those 2 articles, the one about Rocket CrossFit and the one from Medium. I forget the guy's name. But I have so many similar views to them in terms of how they view the organization. So I've never been a fan to begin with. It's really, for me, it's always just been a marketing thing, right? If you come to New York City, you're looking for a CrossFit gym, you pay $3,000 and then you can be thrown in the mix, right? You can be in the Google search. So I never held CrossFit HQ in high regard ever. So this was just like kind of the straw that we kind of were we've been trying to distance ourselves from CrossFit for a long time.
Yeah. Yep.
So this was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was like a very easy decision. And I was like, they could come after us, but I really did have a feeling a lot of people were also going to jump on. So it was nice to see, like, an hour afterwards, Reebok came out, and then an hour after that, like, Khalipa and NorCal came out, and I was like, all right,
And
Pretty sure they're
we're up to about, the last I checked was about a half hour before I got on here, and I was going through a doc that someone shared with me. I think we're up to about 450 affiliates right now that de-affiliated from the community. So it's interesting to see how many people are doing it. Now, there are several questions I'll ask at the end that people are asking for you in general, in terms of the community and gyms. But again, for time's sake, I'm going to keep on going through everything going on. But my last question for you is, and it can be personal, it can be just a broad statement if you want to, do you believe all CrossFit gyms should be doing this as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I thought about that in terms of like, the thing, the hard part I have is CrossFit is such an amazing community, and it's tied together by that one word, right?
Yes.
Like and so I was talking to somebody about this today. It's like, if you go, I do this all the time. I'm traveling, I'm in a new city. First thing I do is get on my phone and Google CrossFit gyms and like do some research and figure out where I want to go. And you go to that gym and everyone's super friendly and outgoing. And so the hard part I have with it is like, what happens to that, right? Like, what do you rebrand it as? Like, you can't really call it like functional fitness. It's like cumbersome. And so that's my biggest concern. Like, the community, like what Amir was talking about before, like that's all CrossFit is to me. It's the community. That's why I got involved. That's why all of us probably got involved, right? And so to keep that together is what's important. I think people should unaffiliate until they make significant changes. And by changes, I mean like very significant changes, not just in terms of their leadership, but in terms of their policies and how they view things, and like how they allow their staff to share and not share things on social media. Like, all of that has to change. I've always viewed them as a very arrogant organization. And if they can change that and have some ideas on how they could do that, kind of, I think people should maybe stay a part of it. But for right now, I think everyone should follow suit. Yeah.
It will be very interesting to see. We know that the big sponsorships of Reebok, Rogue have pulled their ties. It will be very interesting to see if they might become the new leaders of this community in terms of doing sponsorships for these gyms in a way, or to see what will happen. That has been an idea that I've been seeing tossed around possibly. But again, we'll get more into that towards the end, with the open-ended questions towards the end going forward. Now, next, we have Meg. You've been sitting there all quietly. I know, I'm sorry. I'm finally to you. As a games athlete, I would like to know, as being a leader in the sport, how did this all make you feel? And did you feel as a leader you needed to make a response right away? Or was it something where you needed to distance yourself at first and decide if I needed to sit with CrossFit or if this is something I'm, again, going to represent?
Yeah, great question. I really had no other thought than I need to take a stand for something as simple. I mean, it's literally human rights. It's not a complicated situation. The comment was inhumane, insensitive, and just quite frankly, pretty disgusting. So, I mean, myself and many other of my fellow games athletes and peers felt the same exact way. And I think a lot of us stepped up to the plate very quickly with the statements that we made.
Yep, good. The second part, we've been seeing it over the past couple of days. I know some athletes are making very blatant statements about what's going on. We see Chandler Smith, Noah Olson, Christy O'Connell. They're saying that they're not participating in the 2020 games now. We've seen other athletes saying that they're going to wait and see what happens before they make their final decision. Others have, again, also jumped on board today within the last couple hours saying that they were following those three people. I would like to know what your thoughts are in terms of that, and what you think as a leader, as a CrossFit Games athlete, what other game athletes should be doing as well.
Yeah, I actually jotted some notes down because I had a lot to say. That was a very loaded question. It was good.
Love it.
I think, unfortunately, I don't know if there's going to be a statement made. So I think these athletes are going to have to kind of make a decision on their own. I don't think there's going to be a right or a black and white answer. It's going to be, are you on the right side? Are you on the wrong side? I really think that's kind of going to be it. So I guess it technically is black and white, but it's also very complicated because as an athlete, it's their livelihood. It's how they make their money. So it's tough. I do think you are going to see other athletes follow suit and, pull out as well. So I think this games will look very different this year, very interesting. And especially since they already cut a lot of the field as well due to COVID-19. So I think some advice that I would give to fellow athletes, especially, I don't really have a super large following, but even with the following that I have, I know that I can make an impact on people's lives. So I think, number one, don't be silent. Let your voice be heard. Let people know where you stand. People are really going to respect your opinion. If they don't, you don't need them in your life and on your Instagram page anyway. Ask questions, get yourself uncomfortable. That's what I've been doing a lot of. I know that I'm not educated enough on this stuff. So I've been trying to use resources and ask my friends and ask questions that put me in a vulnerable position, put them in vulnerable positions. And I think it's the only way we're going to really continue to grow and kind of move forward. Respond to those people in your community, even if you don't maybe have the right answers. Don't ignore people and try to understand, where they're coming from as well. But, use your platform. It's so big nowadays, social media, things can get around and word can spread, as we saw very, very quickly. And it's going to continue to create that forward momentum and that change. If you are I'm not personally a gym owner, I'm a brand owner. I own a company called Wags and Weights. So I felt that we needed to make a statement on that page as well because it aligned with what I was feeling as an athlete. But if you are a gym owner and a games competitor, I think it's important that you are making it a safe place for your community. I heard something from someone, the people of color within your community, ask them if they feel comfortable, ask them for suggestions and concerns and comments that maybe you wouldn't think about asking them. Their voices are important and they want to be heard. I think, what else? Educating yourself, donating, getting out in the public eye, doing what you can just to be heard. Those are going to be the most important things to continue this change, especially because this is just the beginning.
Of course. I think, again, you guys are all making amazing comments tonight and points. And the one that you hit on, which we all need to understand tonight as well, is you all are being a voice for somebody tonight. Like, we have 63 people right now attending. At one point it was up to 80 and then dropped back down. It was at 30 at one point. We're all being voices for somebody. If it's for another coach, is for being another gym affiliate. For the 5 years that I've been in CrossFit, I've never seen people from different parts of the community come together and really voice an opinion. And that's really why I wanted to put this on as something that we could do as a step farther, because we need to have these vulnerable talks. We need to have these different views and understand the community as a whole, not just if CrossFit and the CEO of them and some other sponsors all came together and had a meeting. They don't represent the community. The community are the people, the members, the coaches, it's everyone. And that's why I really wanted to bring everyone together tonight so we can see all points of view. Now, going on to towards the end of our open-ended questions, what I would like to do is open it back up to everyone. And the first question that I have is, with the response of the CF CEO's Twitter last night, I'm not going to rephrase all of it, but you've all seen it. If you haven't, you can go Google it. I would like to know if you thought it was enough or if you thought there needs to be more. And if we'll leave it at that, there'll be a second question added on, but did you think it was enough and what did you think of it in general? And Lulu, I see you're about to pounce on this.
Wait. Are we talking about the apology?
Yes.
Okay, no. So there was no apology.
We'll call it a tweet.
Okay, so there was a tweet.
Tweet response.
Let me say this. In Brazil, you have this saying, you throw shit up on the fan. And he did that with his first tweet. And then basically that shit went all over the place. And then he tried to clean it up by taking some wet wipes and wiping it down. And that was the second tweet. So was that enough? I hope that answers the question, but somebody else might want to add on there.
For me, that it wasn't enough. And again, it's the backlash that he has received for a couple days. And that's all he could come back with is, you know, again, we all do things in life where we're very apologetic, right? But in my opinion, there's a difference of sincerely meaning it and just doing it to protect yourself and the company. Because that's the only reason why I felt like he issued that comment. There's no action behind it. It's just words. It's like, hey, Floyd 19, my bad. And that's it. So I'm supposed to accept it. Like I've been accepting it. Like we've been accepting it. We've been sitting here. And that's the best you can come up with. I'm not with it.
It wasn't an apology.
Yeah, I thought it was like completely disingenuous, but not only that, I don't think he even wrote it. Like it came from CrossFit, not from him. And I think that was literally CrossFit, literally in the middle of a shitstorm, just coming up with something. And I think they put that out, and it took way too long. Like this was like an avalanche of people commenting yesterday, and they didn't put it out until last night. And then also, if you want to be real, have him post a video of himself giving an actual apology, a heartfelt apology, not justifying what he said, not trying to say that what he said was not racist. Like, don't, like, forget about that. Make a genuine face-to-face apology to the community. That's what needed to happen. And that couldn't have been further from that.
And it was funny to a point where on my story, I started posting like the snowball effect. Like I started off with Lulu, then Brick, then Rogue, then Reebok, then like all this other stuff. And at the end, I started being like, okay, dear Cross CF, if we affiliate anyway with you, like, are we going to lose our spot in the games? Or is this enough for a response? And then all this other started happening. Sanctional started being pulled. Other people started leaving. 400 affiliates started pulling off. And then I had like 5 people message me saying, if they don't respond tomorrow, like someone's probably dead at HQ. Like something's definitely wrong then. Like we're all going to be like really mad at ourselves because something's probably horrible has happened. But again, I think the response, I agree with you. And I think it was just something by the media to put up there very quickly from the team to be like, okay, there's so much happening. We just need to have something said in a way. Going forward with that, this question has been asked a lot on the chat. I saw it a couple of times on here, so it's going to be answered now. With over 400 gyms now de-affiliating, major companies like Reebok, Rogue, Fit Aid, Bear Complex cutting sponsorships, and not to mention now sanctioned events like Live and Loud and others cutting ties with CF, do we think that CrossFit itself can be saved? And if it can, is it not just should it be saved, but can it? Leave it at that. And then I'll open it up to a second part.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'll step back on this.
No, you're good.
Okay. Like if we're talking about saving the brand, the thing is, like, the way I look at this is one thing that I always say, like, you can't make a great team out of fancy jerseys, right? So again, you cannot make a great team out of fancy jerseys. So you can have all the fancy jerseys you want. You can have a fancy name. It is nothing if you don't have people to fill it, right? So the way I see it is, can it be saved? There's nothing to save. It's a fucking name. I'm sorry, but that's all it is. It's a fucking name. You didn't invent the wheel. No one's gonna reinvent the fucking wheel. There's a squat, there's a pull, there's a push, there's a hinge, right? So whatever movement you do, you can now call it whatever the fuck you want and save it $3,000. Can you save it? I mean, like, it just like, it's tied to such a negative feeling that whether you want to admit it or not, if you bring that name up to me, I don't care who's running it, it is going to bring back to these memories. So it's something that in the end of the day, like I said, it's exercise. It's just exercise. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. It's exercise, right? You can rename it, you can do whatever you want. But unfortunately, I think that the brand name, and again, I'm somebody that I used to hate it until I actually started doing it. And I was like, oh, I love that there's this community aspect. I love that we're not judging how we look. Instead, we're here like cheering everyone on to finish a WOD, cheering everyone on when they get their first push-up, their first pull-up, right? And that is what the community is all about. Unfortunately, his actions, I do believe that it just passed from the name. The fact that there was no response for days on end, there still hasn't been a response, and it's been weeks. It's just like, to me personally, it's done. And if anyone knows me, knows I have no other hobby besides working out. I've been miserable in this fucking quarantine because that's all I know how to do. It's literally like eat and work out. I've only been eating. So I've been like on a quarantine 600, not even quarantine 15. So for me, it's like the name itself, it's done. I don't want to be associated with it. There is no saving it. And in the end of the day, it's like, what for? You're going to go pay somebody to have a name that is attached to something really, really bad, something that they lack doing to remain the community. I think that instead of just saving it, you know what? Toss it out. Like I said, keep your fancy jerseys. Fill it up with air. You're never going to have a great team, because a great team is made of people, and the people are not staying.
Yeah, and adding to that too, a lot of the people from seminar staff that have been around for a very, very long time and have really made that brand successful have stepped down. So they're stepping down, some really, really big names. So, you know, I think the change is only coming right now.
Yeah, I'm just touch on that really quickly. I necessarily don't think that CrossFit is dead. You know, the name doesn't do us, the people, the community, justice. It's really about us, all right? Because to be honest with you, most of us probably never even heard of Greg Glassman if you aren't directly working for CrossFit. So us, the people, you know, we're really the ones responsible for where we go from this, and that will demonstrate how we evolve, how we handle business. You know, our response isn't going to badmouth anymore, you know, Glassman, HQ, things like that. It's going to be to protect our community. So CrossFit, the name is one thing, but CrossFit, the people, are another.
Of course. Just looking in the comments, just because